Hello everyone, this is ETV English and I'm Sintayo Tamrat with this special edition. And today's edition will focus on Ethiopia's water resources, particularly the future of Ethiopia's transboundary water resources. These water resources are just being depleted due to several factors, and this calls for concerted effort by respected bodies. And my guest today is Ethiopia's Minister of Water and Energy, Dr. Habtamu Itafa. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me, Dr. Habtamu.
Thank you for inviting me.
Let's talk about Ethiopia's water resources and the climate change. Several researchers say that Ethiopia's water resources are being depleted, and various researches that have been just conducted using various climate models revealed inevitable future changes in the temperature and precipitation, which suggests water stress will generally intensify in the future of Ethiopia's water resources. So what's your take on that?
Thank you so much for inviting me. Yes, there has been narration that say Ethiopia is water tower of Africa. That is a theory. If we see on ground, it is the reverse, which is true. Because if we see the entire basin, west and east part, yes, the west part is really good in volume, but with high variability from season to season. In east part of the country, our water is really very few, especially the rivers are limited. So as a nation, there is no word that guarantee us to say Ethiopia is the water tower of Africa. Had it been so, we don't face those droughts. We don't face those all crises in the past years. We couldn't have been remained so poor as well. So there has been narration to say, yes, Ethiopia is water tower. When we say technically, in terms of elevation, we are at high altitude, water can flow to the neighboring country. It's a tower, but not in volume. With regard to the amount of water availability, the past years, the population growth is really increasing at significant rate, whereas the water availability is decreasing. So if we try to see the proportion of the past 40, 50, even beyond that, we can see the declining of water availability. So currently we are saying, but that is coming to water stress. Both are different. Water scarce and water stress are different. If water scarce means it is not enough, or we need to manage it. Stress means it's limited totally, where the demand and the supply is not compatible with standard capita per day or per year, whatever we say. Globally, areas below 1,000 meter cube per year that someone needs to get for all purpose is said to be under scarcity. So Ethiopia is below that. So though we say in Ethiopia there is water, which is a narration, not true, there is a limitation, even we are almost going to water stress currently.
What do you think are just the major factors, in fact, you have touched those, that have contributed to this water scarcity?
Actually, one thing is the climate variability is one, which is global. The second one is locally, we have been deforesting our vegetation the past years. The third one is population growth. So all these ones are anti for each other. If we have more people, we need more land for settlement. We need more agriculture for subsistence life. All those contributed to deforestation. The global one is global, that it contributed to climate change. So the availability of spring at small scale is reducing from time to time, and we don't have sufficient water in rivers now. So if we don't have sufficient water in the river, for sure for the entire big rivers, the basin, there is a limitation. Currently, our Prime Minister, Ahmed, before few years, he really understood the fate of this country, the fate of this nation, to say, let's plant tree, let's change life, let's build for tomorrow, for our children. I hope that will be reversing where we are now, what we are facing. It's not Ethiopia, by the way. It's in Africa, and globally, this contribution will have significant impact and exemplary work for others as well.
That's a very nice idea, and the Prime Minister's initiative of Green Legacy is also to be appreciated. But what other ways do you recommend as the way out of this water stress Ethiopia is
Many
facing?
options, but for the time being, two things are very important. One thing is we need to conserve water, starting from household. When people are using their water, they need to conserve. They need to value that the way we are bringing water is very expensive. If we make like that, at least we can keep the limited water at the source. Then the coming generation can use. The second one is what we said now. We need to work for sustainability, to have more spring, more clean water, less sediment load to reservoirs, more water storage again as well. By the way, with the issue of water availability, as I said earlier, seasonally we have big variability. For example, during the rainy periods, from June to September, everywhere we hear there is flood. People are getting damaged. Resources getting damaged. So we need to think in a way that every family in Ethiopia needs to store its own water at his yard, in his garden. So we have a lot of dams, small dams, across the country that at least they will use as supplementary in the other day of the dry periods. That will be helping our people to have water, at least to supplement their substance demand.
With this particular special edition of ATV, we need just to focus on international water laws. Since Ethiopia's major rivers are transboundary, we need just to focus on that. And which laws are the major international water laws and principles functioning currently?
With regard to the water laws, it's really difficult to say this one is good or bad or acceptable. But there is an agreed upon law where the upstream have the right to use their water. The same true for the downstream. In case of Ethiopia, that is violated by downstream riparian countries, where they say Ethiopia has almost has no water to use, or they are telling us to get blessing from them to utilize our water, which is against international law. If we see different kind of available standards or agreements, all are depending upon the situation of the country. For example, if we see the West Africa, where people say the good example is Senegal River, which really does not fit with the case of Ethiopia. So those Senegal rivers is demarcating between different countries. It's a border, rather. Nile is not that way. It's crossing the country from one country to the other one. So the law we have there is not applicable here. If we see some Asian countries, yes, some is there, where still they are facing the same challenge that we have in Ethiopia, to see or to negotiate between the upstream, at the middle, and the lower countries, riparian countries, where they have their own established system to negotiate and develop their water resource.
So based on what you have already said and available international water principles and laws, do source countries have the right to use their water resources for development purposes in such a way that it does not inflict, their development project is, do not inflict harm, significant harm to downstream countries?
Yes, true. If at least we take Europeans, of course, today they talk about quality, not about quantity, about water pollution. The upstream countries, they have their own rights. So entirely, the entire corridor of the river is being developed for common use in such a way that they have good faith to each other. So the same is what we want now in Ethiopia. So far, because of our plan to use our water, especially the west side of a country, there has been big challenge that we have been facing from the international community because of wrong understanding or because of the old days principles that they used to live with that. So what we are saying now is we have really the right to use our water because sovereign country with all states where we need to make our people with a better life, not to suffer across the world, migrating, leaving their house. We want to maintain the life of people in home. Our youngsters to be here, Ethiopia, in their motherland, and get changes in their life, and they bring prosperity to the people. For that, the only option we have is land, water, manpower. So the water is the key element that is bringing the land and development by using our human resource, especially the youngsters we are having currently.
Well, that's a great mentioning. And so is the Nile Basin initiative go in line with, in harmony with international laws for transboundary aquifers? And what's the benefit of this to the Nile Basin countries and the people?
Actually, the Nile Basin initiative, when it was started, it was conceived in such a way that all countries will get benefited out of the river. The Nile, the White Nile and the Blue Nile. So far, Ethiopia is the one who is taking leading role, by the way, to maintain that initiative, whereas some countries are almost withdrawing from it. So the main purpose of this initiative is to bring all countries, especially the region. When I say the region, is East Africa, with Nile, the White and the Blue Nile, to have a platform where they will discuss, where they will plan projects, where they will at least support policies in each country. So it is very constructive and supportive, and we are keen to support to continue for that.
Well, that's great. There is also a DOP, Declaration of Principles document that Ethiopia, Egypt, and Sudan signed in 2015. Can this be taken as an international law, and the articles in the document have adopted those or thought or considered those international water laws?
Yes, the articles there are really quoted from some experiences where all the member states agreed upon that, which is specific only for a specific project. It's not for the entire river system of Ethiopia. So because whenever we are talking of our water, draining to different countries, south, east, west, and south, northwest side. So most of those DOP articles that are incorporated for our Nile river system, especially the Blue Nile river system. So the items, the articles that are references to the global experiences that they have in such a way that we have the right to develop our water resource.
Well, so in line with this DOP document, last year, former Ethiopian Minister of Water, Irrigation and Energy, Dr. Seleshi Bekele, briefed the global community at the UN Security Council that the Ethiopian Dam, East Africa's largest dam, Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, was being constructed and failed based on this DOP agreement. And what does that mean? And do downstream countries accept that claim of Ethiopia?
No, actually, DOP, all member states have signed upon that, and the agreement is already there. So in the DOP, it is not restricting Ethiopia's development of all water source that we want to plan, that we want to construct. If we construct the way we feel it and so on, it has nothing to do with limiting of that progress of our work.
Ethiopia's future of water resource, particularly is going to be at risk is taken. So when we talk about Ethiopia's water resources, it is equally important just to talk about how we can preserve these water resources for the future. In this respect, the Green Legacy Initiative, which was launched some 4 years ago by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, should be capitalized. It is just fundamental and a key element in addressing this issue. So I would like you just to share first on what the Green Legacy Initiative means to this country.
It is really a wonderful idea. This day, global itself, people need to learn from Ethiopia, especially the visionary leader. Visionary leaders always think for the future of children. What will happen? How to do that? So I think that is what the PM had in mind by that day. To say, Ethiopia nalipsat. This to mean, let's make Ethiopia covered with green, which means something went wrong to us. That means either bare land is there, or something needs to be covered, life needs to be sustained back. So that is what does mean by the green legacy. It is a legacy. It is a start of future move. So before 4 years when it was planned, it was expected to plant about 20 billion in these 4 years. Thanks to Ethiopians, thanks to all who had accepted the leader PM's idea, all contributed toward planting more than that. So far, about 70 million is successfully planted. And this year, we are almost approaching 7 billion more to be added, which means more than the plan. Yeah, sure. So when we really successfully plant our area with appropriate vegetation, we can imagine how we'll change the local life of our people, where we'll make better life, better shade for the children. Not only better life, better shade, but better water quality, better water quantity as well. Because naturally we know the more forest we have, the better spring will develop. So these many springs we enjoy together, they will make rivers. This river is not for Ethiopia. It includes for all the downstream countries who are going to get benefited. In terms of water, that is what we can say. In terms of climate, it will be the one where it will be impacting, actually rather than saying impacting, reversing the impact of the climate problem we are facing, where the more vegetation we have, the more oxygen will be released into the environment that is shared among the entire globe. So that is what does it mean by green legacy. Planting is more seedling, contributing to the world.
Well, that's a very nice idea, but Dr. Aptamu, let me ask you one important point here. If this is a legacy, I think it should continue. As we said, Ethiopia's water resources is at risk in the near future maybe, and this might just save that. And if it is a legacy, it should continue. And what should be made by the government and the respective bodies that are concerned with this green legacy kind of project should do in order to sustain this legacy?
Yes, yeah, you are right. It should not be something like campaign. We do it once and then stop. The first time when it was started, we remember how people have been reacting to say, how comes? Is that possible? It's big number and so on. But later, the community has owned. If we see every year who is participating on the green legacy, we see children in schools. These children are growing. If they practice to plant every year for 4 years, that is what they will make in their life. If we see the influential people in society, religious leaders, elders, they owned it already. They accept that. If we see in every town today, people talk about urban agriculture. The urban agriculture can be also part of that, where really people want to cover their area with green legacy concept. All this will contribute for sustainability. That's number one. Number two, I think every line sectors is there in Ethiopia, starting from ministry to the warada or Kabale level. They know that every year they have a plan. where they have to prepare seedling where they can plant, either for that is edible, or that is cash crop, for example, coffee, and others. That's what we have been seeing currently, and also different kind of all these issues. It's becoming a way of economic income, not only green initiative. So this will be making it a legacy, or it will make it continuity for the future.
Ethiopia's rivers are transboundary, major rivers are transboundary. And regarding with Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, some downstream countries are just concerned about water scarcity or water shortage when we particularly just see the case of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. If the real concern is water insecurity, then why shouldn't they join the Green Legacy Initiative?
Yeah, actually, I think it's good to see in different patterns. For example, globally these days, even the last 2 months, different publications, international journals, be appreciating this. How they say, Addis is beautified now. Addis Ababa is a beautiful city now. Because of what? The green legacy issue that has contributed to the river corridors the PM has initiated. It's the fruit of a green legacy. These people who were just silent or opposing our development, for sure they know that we are right. For sure they are confident that the water will not harm them, our development, but it looks like their own interest, which actually difficult to identify at this level, which we could judge, but it needs to be clear about it, why they do so. Whatever the case, we really still insist our neighbors to learn from Ethiopia, to plant trees. Forget the water. Let them have shade for their children. Let them enjoy. Last year, Ethiopia has tried to share the experience by planting 1 billion of trees in different countries. Some were okay, some part was not successful. This year also we do the same. So they can learn and adapt that what we are doing is appropriate way in terms of climate, in terms of our water security, in terms of soil conservation as well.
Thank you so much for sharing your views on the future of Ethiopia's water resources and what the country should do at the Green Legacy, and also the transboundary water principles and laws. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Dr. Habtamu Itafa.
Thank you very much.
Dear viewers, this has been the conversation with Dr. Habtamu Itafa, who is Minister of Water and Energy. And we talked a lot of issues regarding the Green Legacy Initiative, the future of Ethiopia's transboundary water resources, and how it should be preserved, and also some of the international water laws on which Ethiopia can just utilize these transboundary water resources. Thank you for joining me. I'm Sentayot Amrat with this program, and see you another time.